This is part 2 of our video. This should conclude it. There are 3 classifications of light that you always want to be making sure that you are protecting yourself against in a welding environment. The first is visible light, and then that's the light that we can actually see. Now, if you're using a plasma cutter or if you're using a acetylene torch, you get visible light that's extremely bright, and it will cause temporary snow blindness. And it'll dissipate in a little while. People that suffer from diabetes or from macular degeneration may want to protect their eyes very carefully. Infrared light is light that is felt as heat, and that will cause the blistering, and you'll get burns from it. If you touch a piece of metal that's just been welded, you got to remember that metal's been heated up sometimes to like 4,000 degrees, so it's extremely hot. And then the last one is the most dangerous because it's not seen or felt. It's ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light can't feel it until later, the flash burn that you get. And flash burn is when the ultraviolet light has entered your eyes and burns your retinas. You may lose partial or complete sight permanently or temporarily, depending on how badly the retina happens to be damaged. You never, ever modify any of your PPE, personal protection equipment. You're not an engineer. You don't have sophisticated equipment. So to change something that has been designed to meet a specification of a safety regulation, please don't alter them. You have, for eye protection especially, you have 2 functions. You have flying debris and you have light reflection. And we already went over what those classifications are. If you have regular seeing glasses and you cannot wear safety glasses, then you should get a pair of goggles. You could also wear a full face shield for flying debris. And you can get flash glasses that tint to the UV rays and regular light and debris. Welding helmets we've already gone over, and you just got to make sure that you're setting your welding helmet to the correct setting for the metal and the heat that you are using. Ear protection. It gets very noisy in a welding environment. Losing your hearing is, I think I would rather lose my sight than my hearing. Hearing loss due to excessive exposure to loud noises is common in welding. Sparks and hot metal can also enter the auditory canal. And to prevent any ear infections, you should clean your earplugs regularly with soap and water. How do you protect your waist, your legs, and your arms? Well, you can purchase all sorts of leather chaps and covers to cover every part of your body. Just remember, no loose woven clothing, no synthetics. You should wear long cotton or wool pants, leather gloves. If you want to wear a baseball cap or a skull cap on your head, that's optional. Eye protection is necessary in the welding environment. Should have no synthetic or cloth shoes, and please, no chains, cell phones, keys, zippers, or lighters, or anything else that might conduct electricity or be damaged in your pockets when you're welding, especially a lighter. They explode very easily. You're going to see oxygen and fuel tanks in a welding environment, and oxygen and fuel are 2 different things. One canister is for oxygen, 1 cylinder is for fuel. They should be kept 20 feet apart. If you can, put an 1.5-hour firewall between them that's at least 5 feet high. This will ensure that the heat of the small fire from causing the oxygen cylinder safety valve to release. A raging inferno will pursue with the oxygen. Inert gases may be stored with oxygen cylinders. Empty cylinders should be stored separately. You'll notice in our welding lab that we have chains where we chain our gas cylinders to the wall. They're always in an upright position, and in areas away from stairs or hallways and where people will be walking. They should be also away from any heat sources, radiators, furnaces, and welding sparks. There is a cap on all of the cylinders before it's used called a valve protection cap, and it should always be on unless the cylinder is being used. The cap protects the valve in the event the cylinder is accidentally knocked over or bumped, because if the cap comes off, you basically have now a live missile, and it will break through concrete wall, as proven by Mythbusters. You can look it up on YouTube. It's pretty fun to watch that episode. Welding is hot work by the National Association of Fire Prevention. Plumbers are required a waiting period to make sure that they're not burning down a house after they weld plumbing pipes, the copper pipes. Um, Certain parts of the country have burn bans, like Southern California. You can't even smoke on certain streets. There's signs that say no smoking because of the wildfires that they have out there. You have to get special permits. Always, always, always check three things before you use a welding oxy fuel setup. Check your hoses, check your regulators, and always check for flammable materials within 35 feet of the welding area. Always make sure that your regulators are installed for the correct fuel. Acetylene versus fuel, there's two different regulators. Now you really can't, because the threads on the hoses and everything are backwards. Acetylene actually, instead of doing righty-tighty, does lefty-tighty, so that purposely prevents you from being able to put a regulator meant for oxygen on the fuel tank. Hoses for oxygen are generally green, and hoses for fuel are generally red. However, if people set it up incorrectly, it may not be. So you always double check, make sure things are properly set up on your oxy-fuel setup. Always weld in a well-ventilated area due to the toxic fumes that may be created. Lots of times we don't scrape the paint off of a piece of scrap that we're going to be welding on, and that paint could have lead in it, and you do not want to inhale that. Fire extinguishers. There are four classifications of fire extinguishers. There is a A, a B, a C, and a D. For the welding environment, you want to make sure that you have at least a C. A C is going to be for electrical fires, for motors, fuse boxes, and welding machines. The difference is there's different chemicals inside. So like an A would be for paper, wood, and cloth. A B would be for things like liquids like gas, oils, and whatnot. And then there's a D, which is for combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, and zinc. When using a foam fire extinguisher, allow foam to fall lightly on the base of the fire. Carbon dioxide, electric shock, and safety. Electricity can cause death. Electrical resistance is lowered in the presence of water. So make sure never have any food in the welding lab near you, especially anything to drink. Budget your time wisely so that you can get out of the welding environment, go into another area, and enjoy your beverage. All cables, make sure you're checking all your cables are connected real tight, because any little gap, metal shavings can get into it and cause a short circuit. Always check the condition of your cable before you begin a new day of welding. Somebody may have been on that welding machine after you, may have been using a grinder in that laboratory and accidentally cut your cable, and it can cause an electrical shock. So you want to make sure you're inspecting your equipment before you start welding every day. Always make sure you turn off your power when the welding station is left unattended. Make sure all hand power tools have a ground that is not damaged. Some people pull out the ground to make the plug fit into a two-prong receptacle. That is dangerous. Two-prong UL approved machinery has a double insulative wiring that would remove leaking current away from the user. A three-prong doesn't. So you need to have that third prong to remove the leaking current away from to the ground. So don't alter any of your engineered equipment for safety. It's there for a reason. Always make sure you look at the voltage rating of a tool before you plug it into a power supply. A power source with a voltage greater than the specific voltage can lead to serious injury. When in doubt, always use a GFCI ground fault center interrupter receptacle. It senses the surge and will shut down the circuit to save the device and you. You'll see that there are